Just wanted to ask if anyone has any question for any of our speakers, please. You can come here if you want, because we don't have a microphone.
Good evening. I lived this experience of the meeting 2 days only, but I must say that I learned that technology is full of humanity, and the humanity is full of technology. And I personally, but we in Florence are very proud to have Ferragamo Foundation, because I see the exhibition, but I think that the right word to express the joyful to visit the exhibition is that is always you see in a different ways. You go in a day and you see you are struck by something, so you go another day and you see something else. And I think that Ferragamo, Salvatore Ferragamo is giving to the shoes the soul. And I am thinking that the soul in Italian is the suola, and is strange. Soul in English means anima, very, very deeply, and in Italiano suola for the shoes. So I thanks a lot for this organization, and I think that we must go on this path, humanity full of technology and technology full of humanity. Thanks.
I hoped you would tell us a little bit more. You said you went flat on your face after your first drawings or books, and but then you kept on drawing. So what did you do then, besides being a guide? Did you invent other stories, or did you do another technique, or what did you do?
Well, I learned, and Ferragamo again brings this lesson. When I was researching his life, he fell on his face many times. But he got up and you start again. So I fell on my face and I said, what are the problems? And I saw them, because when you're working at a high level of art, you could recognize what's wrong, and then you can fix it. It might take years to fix it. It might not happen overnight. There were skills that I had to learn that I wasn't trained for. An animator is trained to see movement, to see gesture. I was not trained to see textures. I was not trained to see values. I was not a painter. I did not know how to paint. I didn't know one end of the brush from another. I knew a pencil very well because I slept with a pencil. So I realized I have to learn. I have to go back and start to learn. And I learn painting, learn how to see things. Self-taught, really, because you can go to a school, but all you're doing is learning how another person is thinking about it. And it takes time. You give yourself a little time, you keep working, and you learn your craft, but that's, love is really, I guess, to answer your question, is why you do it, because I love what I'm doing.
Do you have a favorite type of drawing that you do, or painting, or story that
Well, I'm a science fiction writer. I don't know if any of you guys do. So when I got the Ferragamo gig, to me it was really difficult, because I was writing science fiction, so I threw a giant robot in there just because. But this was a biography. But I love a challenge. So to answer your question about do I have a favorite genre or medium?
Long stories, short stories, like these are emblems or, separate scenes.
Yeah, well, the story had to have, an end point, 24, 28 pages, and then you kind of build from there. But I'm working on a story that's 12 issues long, and every book is 32 pages, so it's like 400 pages of stuff. That's what I'm doing now. And so the length doesn't bother me, or I don't have a favorite, but I do have a style that I try to, my mantra is, for every book, learn something. Because I don't want to die not saying I didn't try that. So I think it's better to push yourself into the direction that you don't want to go. So with Ferragamo, I tried things that I would never try, but just because it was teaching me, And Ferragamo did the same thing with his shoes, And I would read his biography, and this man was like an artist, because he would just sit there and he would go, "Let me make a shoe out of hummingbird wings." I mean, come on, what? So I think artists have to think like that. These men, Giotto, who I was just looking at before I got here, they were inventing things. They were creating a language, and that is the beauty of it. I don't think technology could do that. I think that our brains could. You have to force our brains to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's have lunch. Nobody wants to stand up, right?
You can do it sitting down. I mean, you can also ask questions sitting down.
Yeah, but it's better this way.
This is not really a question. This is something that I had not thought about before you mentioned it. Because we've talked about the power of images as language for communicating things, but the power of drawing in itself, the act of drawing as a form of thinking about things. I'm an architect, and I draw a lot. Not very well, but I draw a lot. And it is a way in which I process what I am thinking about. And the potentialities of the act of drawing in an institution or in a museum to apprehend the work and to reflect about it, I think it's very interesting. And the event that took place in the Ferragamo last year, which I got from my bag with my bag down from Ponte la Trinità, and just found out that the whole square was filled with people. It's amazing. I mean, the power of moving so many people and making them think and reflect about something and transform it and produce something new. It's amazing. So just your thoughts about
Thank
that.
you.
Ho l'accompagnatrice perché non parlo inglese, per far capire. Te hai detto che per ogni fumetto vuoi fare uno stile diverso. Ma cosa ti fa scegliere lo stile? Cioè,
cosa fa scegliere lo stile?
cosa ti fa scegliere lo stile? Cos'è che ti ispira? Casomai un'opera d'arte, un qualcosa?
He asked, you said that for each new book you make, you want to learn something new for it. And he's asking, where do you take your inspiration? What kind of new thing you want to learn? How do you decide what you want to learn next? Is there a way, or it just comes to you as you work?
Well, there is a process that we'll talk about tomorrow in the school, where you can kind of push yourself into different directions maybe. But what I like to do is, when I'm working on a project, just the first thoughts that I have, and when I put them down, I say, well, this is the standard way of doing this project. This is what the acceptable way of doing this project would look like. And it would be perfect. It would be fine. Now, how can I take that and push that? How can I just say, okay, now let me go and do a Muhammad Ali thing on it? Like everybody's expecting this, so I'm going to try to do that. Because when you're working on a project for 8 hours, 10 hours a page, you want to be excited about every page. You don't want to just be excited about one page and then just fall asleep. Every page should challenge you. And you could see it happens here. You know, they were pushing themselves. How many people can I add to this, you know, and make it readable? So I think that, you know, look around you. You're living in a city that's a library of art. And you can't have more inspiration if you just like look at a garbage can, you know. Everything is beautiful. So look at it and say, push yourself. Wherever you are afraid of going, that's really where you're supposed to be to learn from. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, Frank Espinosa will be a guest at our school for a workshop tomorrow and Sunday in the morning and in the afternoon. And you just witnessed some of our students who just came today to say hi.
I have a question for you guys. Do anybody here besides the students, does anybody here draw? You draw. You're an architect, that's right. You draw? Do you still draw? But everybody here used to draw, right? When you were kids. So why did you stop? That's my question. Why did you stop? It's just communication, right? So keep communicating. There's no such thing as a bad drawing. It's just another language for you, yeah.
Well, when you communicate, it goes both ways.
Right.
And I noticed with my children, they draw a lot, but they stopped after a while. They're now, after they were 7, 8 years old, I think their teacher did not respond to them anymore.
Right.
So they drawed.
Right.
And we as parents maybe also start reacting something.
Right.
So for them it's no use anymore.
Right.
Maybe that's the reason.
Yeah, we learned another way of communicating that's probably more efficient, right? Than drawing a house. You could just say house, right? But still, there is a beauty to it that you could do on your own. So I would suggest go out and connect again to that inner child, because Picasso did. I mean, really, that was a brave guy. When he was 12 years old, he drew just as good and painted just as well as these guys. 12 years old. And then he went off and he created a whole different style that, you know, people would probably walk into a museum and look at it and they would say, my little girl could paint better than that. You know, but he had never been taught to paint as a child. You know, his father would say, no, that's not how you draw an apple. You draw an apple like this with value and shading. And so connect again. You all have it in you. You all have it in you. It's like humanity's genetic gift. It's amazing. You just kind of buy a little sketchbook and a little pen, you know, sit there and draw. Instead of getting on Google, you can draw a little bit. It's fantastic. And there's no NSA to kind of like keep an eye on you. Well, maybe there is, I don't know.
That's true, and I want to tell you a little story, because when you say, are you drawing, I think about and say, no, I'm not drawing usually, but I start drawing on, I don't know what's the name, the napkins of my daughter. When I prepare the bag for her at the night, I draw something on the napkins, like, I don't know, a heart or a house or something that we happens to us. And childs are very surprised, each other, when my daughter shows the napkins to the others. And what's happening? That all the other kids goes at home and say to a father or mother, oh, the father of my school friends drew something on the, do the same, please. And it starts a contest in the school. And it was very, very nice. It's because, you know, comes at home and show me the drawings of other fathers, and so that's nice. That is something that works, and it's communicating.
Yes, it's a communication, and it like I said, it got us out of the caves. Think about that. It really did. I mean, it just, that was a scary world out there, and this was a way for us to look at that painting and say, we can hold, we can move it, we can mold it, and this is our rituals. This is the beginning of mythology. This is the beginning of our language. And then we go out and then we make iPads, But this one prepares us for a bigger one. But we have to keep doing it because we're human beings. We have a light inside, and we can't let technology get between us and that. We gotta. I think that we have to, whether it's a dance or sculpting or painting, it might, whatever. Just do something with your hands. This thing, 5 million years or more, opposable thumb. It's amazing. Don't just use it as a space bar, thing.
Sure.
Why what? It's so bad. Does anybody hear that question? It's a very important question. Could you repeat it? Could you step up there and say that? I just want to see her walk over there.
No, I just wanted to know, why do you think that using technology to draw and to not painting, because we cannot say painting, is so bad?
Okay. If we turned all the lights off in this room right now and we walked out, these paintings would still be there. They don't need electricity. They don't need an app. They exist. They're real, like this building. And they're originals. If you destroy them, they're gone forever. They have to be preserved. They have to be taken care of. That's the best of ourselves has to come out to take care of that art. When you draw on the computer, you're drawing with a 0 and a 1. And there's no such thing as an original. When you send the file off to your employer, he has the original, just like you have the original. So there's no more originality. And that, to me, bothers me. That's very frightening, that there's not one thing that, if you destroy it, it's gone. It's gone forever. So learn to preserve it. It's almost like everybody just has a copy of the original now. And that bothers me.
But apart from the result, don't you think that all the process of the storytelling is kept even there? And that is an opportunity because everybody can do it. Everybody knowing how to use a computer, has access to this. Don't you think it's another way to have access to art?
You can have access to art on a cave wall. Those people they didn't even have pencils. They did it with their thumbs and ashes. I mean, you don't need a high-tech device to do a painting. So if this was an iPad and I was drawing, I would still have to do this, right? I would still have to move my hand and draw, which is great. But if I had a pencil and paper, I have to do the same mechanical thing. So there is no difference except that this exists as a real thing. And this, in 20 years, when Google or iPad or Apple change their operating system, I don't know. I can't even see the old Indiana Jones tapes. My VHS is gone. I have to buy like another version of Star Wars. I mean, what happens to your art in 20 years when they change the entire system?
But maybe it's more spreadable. No.
Well, so was a virus. I don't know.
A spread of knowledge, a spread of art.
But you can just scan your original, and like I say, technology is a fantastic carrier pigeon. It's like the fastest carrier pigeon in the world. I scan my art, and it goes all around the world. It's fantastic. But we shouldn't think that a carrier pigeon can make art. It's just a transport device, and that's all it is. You're the art maker, and you're the storyteller. And reconnect to that. Reconnect to the paper and the brush and the mistakes. You made a mistake? Oh my God. So did he. He probably made 100 mistakes, but he's not talking. Right? Mistakes are good. That's what makes art unique. When you're working with a computer, nobody wants to make a mistake. Everything has to be perfect. That's not good.
I was asking just because all the museum and the web conference was about this. So we are using the technologies to spread the knowledge and to make the art available of as many people as possible all around the world. So
I think that's great. I think that as long as it spreads art, it's fantastic, but the content should be created by human hands on real human paper. But, this is why I am a dinosaur. So don't take anything that I say for like anything, because I'm like an old dinosaur. I mean, there's like 100 people out there that do everything on computer and they make $1 bazillion. So, but I just feel that, it's really nice to hold a piece of paper in your hands. Thank you.
We have the same dilemma in our school, because there are a lot of students that start to do only things digitally, and they say, why should I use paper? Why should you use paper? Because it's true, it's in your hand. It's one of your senses. You have to use that too. You have to make mistakes. You cannot Control Z your way out of life. Control Z is the undo. And they are losing. I mean, we make them start from paper. I mean, you got to do everything on paper, and we believe in that. We believe that art should be spread around, but see, you can take a picture of that painting, and it's great that everybody can see it, but the painting is still there. I mean, I agree with what you say. And also it's such a joy, the feel of paper. If you've ever drawn the feel of paper, the feel of drawing for your child, and that she can see, that she can touch. I met an inker who, comics have to be inked with inking and a brush or a pen. He tried to ink with digitally. He really tried. But it's the sound of the paper, of the brush with the paper. He could not reproduce that sound. I mean, he could not feel that he was inking because he cannot feel it. He could not really feel it in his hand. And that is something that cannot be reproduced. I mean, they can make Cintiq with the sound that reproduce the sounds of paper, but that will not be the same. So I totally agree with you, believe me, we're there. So I think that you should do both. I think that you should try to do both, but start with paper always, always.
And then end with paper.
Yes. Oh, it's sculpture. No.
Okay.
Puoi tirarlo giù.
The first time that you stood in front of a painting like that, what did you feel inside of you?
The first time that I saw that painting?
No, in a general painting, like any artist.
When I was a young boy?
What did you feel inside of you?
Well, I wanted to do that. I wanted to know how it was done. And I fell in love with it. I'm sure that there's every one of you fell in love with something that you do now and that you do for a living. And it's the same feeling.
Can I have another question?
Sure.
What's your favorite technique when you have to paint?
Now, I like to take a palette knife and just do it as much as I can because again, I hate to bring this up. When you're at Disney I was at Disney for 5, and then like, so I would say 7 years, and then I was at Warner's for 13, and you are like a machine. You have to do the line a certain weight, and now I have to have chaos. And so the more I take a palette knife and I draw and paint with it that I cannot have any control, then it excites me, because it's like, wow, this is interesting, you know? So yeah, the more chaotic, the better, I think, as I get older. But maybe when I'm in my 80s, I'll just be throwing paint at the canvas like a monkey.
Thank you.
Thank you. But then nobody will buy it. Digital palette throwing. I'll throw digital iPads onto a painting.
If there are any other questions, we can do the tour of the church if all of you want to join.
Tour. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to Ferragamo and my dad. They're up there somewhere having a drink.
Next time, no?